7:02, we are starting the March 18th Environmental and Natural Resources Commission meeting. First item on the agenda is a call to order. I guess what's the difference between a call to order and a roll call?
Mr. Chair, you...
Did I already just do that, the call to order? Okay. This
Very-
is my first time
very
as
efficient.
a chairperson, so bear with me out there, folks.
You've already accomplished it.
All right, then, roll call. Just
You could also just ask people to say their names.
okay, so we'll move from left to right. Commission members, if you could just state your names for the record, please. Yes.
Emma Brodner.
David Leitz.
Ben Gill.
Rebecca Bryan.
And Ted Redmond.
Thank you, commission members. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, or is the commission on board with what's been presented thus far?
I'll move the agenda as is.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, then on to the approval of the minutes from the February 28th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just going to note that I'll abstain because I was absent from that meeting.
Commissioner Brodnick abstains. All right, then, on to the fifth item is new business. 5A, we have the tennis sanitation recycling collection annual report, the 2023 collection annual or year-end report, and the 24 recycling collection work plan. That'll open it up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. So tonight, we're doing our annual report, an annual review for our residential recycling and trash programs. And we have representatives from our contracted haulers, Tennis Sanitation for recycling, and Republic Services for our trash hauling. So I have a short presentation to kind of go over their reports with you, and then we will have the representatives stand for questions. So to begin with, the solid waste program that we have here in Maplewood covers both single-family residential for trash hauling and then multifamily residential for our recycling. And we want to note that it does meet our strategic plan relevance, 3 areas: environmental stewardship, using best management practices to reduce waste and protect air quality, water quality, and natural resources; operational effectiveness, protecting public health and safety and promoting city cleanliness and livability; and then financial and asset management, so managing the city's solid waste program in a cost-effective manner. So it's good to outline how the programs that we work on with the city meet our strategic plan relevance, which are reviewed and modified yearly by our city council. So the contracts that we have with our 2 haulers, starting with the residential recycling contract, that covers single-family homes, all single-family homes that are 1 unit to 4 units, and then multifamily homes, including the larger apartment buildings as well. We started out with single-family home recycling many years ago, probably 30 years ago, and then opened up to multifamily, and that was probably about 15, 20 years ago, I would say. The recycling contractor also collects recycling in our city facilities, so all of our buildings, like here at City Hall, and then in our parks. We have centralized locations in some of our parks where our park crews will bring the recycling, and then they get collected by Tennis Sanitation in these dumpsters weekly. And then in our contract and also in our ordinance, our solid waste ordinance, we allow small businesses and churches to opt in to the recycling program. And this is a great way for businesses and churches to save money because, of course, you don't pay that solid waste tax on trash hauling, and they pay the residential rate, which currently is $5.97 per household per month. So it'd be $5.97 a month for a business or church to have recycling through our program. So currently we have, I think it's about 26 businesses that we collect from, but we'd like to open that up to more. I mean, we can open it up to more, so we're always trying to promote that. Then the trash and yard waste contract, so Republic Services collects both trash and yard waste, as well as bulky items curbside for our residential homes. And again, that's up to 4-unit buildings. And you can subscribe to the yard waste service, so it's an additional fee. It's a yearly fee, and they collect it from April until the end of November. Once a week, they'll collect that in a 95-gallon yard waste cart, and then you can also put out up to 5 compostable bags of yard waste as well. As well as tennis picking up in our city facilities, Republic Services also picks up trash in our city facilities and parks. And I should also mention, and I guess I should add it here, is that they collect organics in our city facilities. So that's a nice bonus for the city of Maplewood. We began our organics collection program in our city facilities about 5 years ago, I would say. And so mainly, employee lunches, things like that, because we don't have a lot of food service unless there's an event or something, and we always make a concerted effort to collect organics during our employee events as well. And then they also, through the contract now, handle the spring cleanup, and they cover that at no cost to the city of Maplewood as part of the overall contract, unless the materials increase to a certain amount, in which case the city would pay some money. And so that has been a real cost savings to the city. Previously, we had it probably cost the city about $10,000, I would say, to subcontract that out. And then the fall cleanup campaign is something that Republic Services offers. It's a 20% reduction on bulky items throughout the month of October every year. So, of course, they do the curbside collection year-round, but if you did it in the month of October, you'd get a 20% discount. So the terms of the current contracts with both of our haulers, they're currently aligned, and they were originally a 5.5-year contract, which began January 1st of 2020, and those go to June 30th of 2025, so that is right around the corner next year. So we'll be looking at the possibility of extensions with our haulers, and if that doesn't work out, the possibility of going out for RFP for new contracts. So that's something we'll mention here later as we move forward. And the requirements that are outlined in the contract outline these annual reports that the haulers are required to submit to the city to reflect amount of materials collected, trash and tonnage, recycling and tonnage, recycling broken down into materials, the amount of residuals that we're seeing in our recycling program, which is residuals is contaminants or trash that shouldn't be in there. And then a work plan, we work with our haulers yearly, and we depend on our environmental commission here to really finalize that work plan and come up with some strategies that could help us make improvements to our program. So we have a draft work plan we will present to you tonight. So we'll start with our recycling program, tennis sanitation. And I'm going to go through both of these programs. I just have a few slides on each. And then I thought I would stand for questions, and then we can introduce our haulers. And then for reference, this annual report will then go to our city council in April for their final approval. So in 2023, the Environmental Commission approved a work plan, and tennis sanitation has been working on that over the year. And that work plan included communication of weather-related postponements. Now, this year has been pretty breezy. We haven't had any weather-related postponements, but the prior year was quite challenging. And we just wanted to ensure that because we have two haulers that, and sometimes one of the haulers will continue with their collection while the other one might delay because of weather-related issues. So we want to make sure that we're having kind of a concerted communication piece to our residents to avoid confusion, because some residents might put out their trash knowing that the recycling's not going to get, or put out the recycling knowing the trash isn't going to get collected, but others may not have received that message, so that they don't put out either cart, and then the recycling is missed. So you can see where this causes some confusion. So we've come up with a strategy where we're working more closely with each other during these weather-related incidents. Then we have monthly and year-end recycling report improvements. Last year, I noted a few things in the annual report that I thought needed a little bit of clarification. One of those is how Tennis Sanitation was breaking out the cardboard, and it wasn't being reflected in like the park recycling. So I know that in, well, maybe like our city facilities, I know that we have cardboard collection only, so they would be counting that cardboard collection, but it wouldn't be lumped into the city facility recycling. So that's kind of an example of, I needed clarification on that. So since then, they have modified the annual report to make that a little bit more clear for us. Park recycling improvements. So this is something we want to continue this year. We chose that as one of our SCORE grant agreement incentive programs. So the Ramsey County SCORE grant is something that the city, all cities in the county receive a grant to help with recycling programs. In Maplewood, our grant usually is about $100,000 a year. And then we get an additional like $10,000 or so if we do certain incentives. So this year we chose making some improvements in our park. We know that it was probably, I say everything is 20 years ago. When you've been here 25 years, it seems like, okay, we're just going to say 20 years. So 20 years ago, we rolled out recycling in our parks, and many of the containers were supplied to us by Ramsey County. And since that time, I know that we've increased our trash containers. So we don't have, all our recycling containers aren't paired with a, or I should say all of our trash containers aren't paired with a recycling container. And we all know that you have to have a buddy. You have to have trash and recycling, or it's all just going to go in the trash. So that's one area of improvement that the city would like to make, not that the hauler would assist with that, but then ensuring that we have a good system for when our parks crews collect the recycling throughout the park facility and places it in those centralized dumpsters that we're, having that communication and being able to collect that, and maybe looking at the tennis to offer some other improvements that we could make throughout the year. But last year, again, we didn't make much headway on this, so we want to make sure we're continuing this in our work plan this year. Cart delivery process. So let's see, this, I'm thinking that this had to do with ensuring that the city was made aware when where people are converting their cart sizes, and also because I should mention that when Tennis Sanitation originally rolled out the carts 20 years ago, I'm kidding, it was 20, some time ago, all single-family homes received a 65-gallon cart, and then all townhomes and manufactured homes received a 35-gallon cart. But since that time, Tennis has opened it up and said, hey, let your residents choose what size cart they want. So we want to track our cart size for both our recycling program and our trash program to see how our pay-as-you-throw methodology for our trash hauling, is moving the carts up and down. So as, the larger trash carts become more expensive because we're putting more of the disposal fee on those, are we seeing people moving down trash cart size and increasing recycling cart sizes. So since the city is not, does not manage the carts, we wanted just to ensure that we have that data. And we did get a good report on that in this year's annual report. And then attending the city's Touch a Truck event, and you'll see this is kind of a fun picture of that event where both Tennis and Republic Services attended, and it's held at the Maplewood Community Center parking lot. And I think this was the first year I was there. I was there with, in between Tennis and Republic, with Ramsey County promoting the food scraps program. So it was kind of a fun event for all of us to be there and promote the solid waste programs that we were doing. So here's Willie and Alexia posing in front of their recycling vehicle, and these are one of the most popular with the kids. You know, they love to get in there and pretend they're working the recycling arm and so forth. So we'll move on to the annual report, and in that annual report, Tennis Sanitation outlines a lot of data. So I've condensed it just to a few little items here, but they really do a great job of reporting on all the data. And I should note that when they first started submitting reports for the city of Maplewood, Ramsey County was so impressed that they, and this was probably about 20 years ago. I'm kidding again. No, this was maybe 15 years ago. Ramsey County was so impressed with the reporting that they reported on to all other cities saying, hey, here's a good example of how your hauler could submit reports and give us all this great data, because cities are required then to turn around and submit all that data in another software system, and that's how Ramsey County tracks overall recycling collection. So you can see here, single-family recycling, it does appear has decreased from 41.20 pounds per household per month to, or average pounds of recycling collected per month, to 36.44. And but it is interesting to note that multifamily has increased, so from 9.76 pounds to 11.02 pounds. So I haven't had a chance to kind of talk that over with Tennis, so maybe they have some insights into why that might be. You know, it could be that recycling materials are getting less, like cardboard isn't as thick, things like that. Plastics don't weigh as much anymore, things of that nature. It could have something to do with. And then annual net tons of recycling collected, so we kind of lump that into an annual amount. You can see the reduction in single family from 2,802.21 tons for the year to 2,478.38 tons. Multifamily, you can see that increase from 249.21 tons to 281.38 tons. And then businesses and churches, and again, I think we had a reduction of maybe 1 or 2 businesses from last year, but I guess that was still tracking last year. But there was a slight increase, so 22.39 tons throughout the year for those, I think it was 26 businesses or so, to 22.71 tons. So then finally, for our recycling program, we want to present the recycling work plan proposal. And what we're looking at this year is walk-up notifications. While this hasn't really been a problem, it's just I noticed once in a while, I should say, in our contract with both Tennis and Republic Services, it allows residents to set up walk-up service if they're physically unable to bring the cart to the curb. So, you know, a lot of times you'll get maybe an elderly individual who had hip surgery, something like that, and can't bring it down to the curb anymore. And so the driver will actually get out of the vehicle, walk up to the garage where the individual would have had to left it right outside the garage, roll the cart down, and then the driver will tip the cart and then walk it back up. So it's a really nice service for individuals. And I think, according to our reports, we have about 77 walk-up services now throughout the city. And that varies, because people will heal up and then they'll call and say, I don't need that service anymore, but thank you. So sometimes they'll call the city, sometimes they'll call tennis, sometimes they'll call Republic Services. So I didn't really have a good system for tracking that, except for the numbers I was getting. So I just wanted to make sure that both haulers are notifying the city if they get a call. Attending the Touch Truck event again, so that will be held, I think it's in June this year. So again, they're the star of the show, so we have to have you there. Park recycling, want to continue those improvements this year. And then we haven't done this for a while, but coordinating a tour. So with our environmental commission and maybe our green team, we could all load up in the van and hike on down to St. Paul Park, where tennis has their facility, which is where they bring all of the city's recycling, and it's sorted there. And they made some really nice improvements a few years back, so I think it would be very interesting for you all to see that. So hope that we can set up a tour with them. Multifamily recycling outreach. This was, again, another thing in our SCORE grant. You had to require that the city is doing outreach to multifamily recycling, mainly biz recycling, which is a program that's offered through Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. It's called, like I said, biz recycling. It's funded by Ramsey County, so they contract with Minnesota Chamber to do this program, and then the county offers grants on top of this, like technical assistance, to make improvements to multifamily recycling. So it's been a great program for us, because when we get calls from multifamily properties having some challenges with their recycling program, we're able to do a site visit with Tennis, myself, and the WasteWise representatives for biz recycling, and they give them a full report on areas that they can make improvements on, and then go over the grants, which a multifamily property could get a grant up to $20,000 to help their recycling. So that could cover things like a recycling and trash enclosure, so the containers just aren't sitting out in the open. Cameras to see if individuals are illegally dumping. I just spoke to one apartment complex that they use the grant money for they have underground parking, and their dumpsters are located in the center of the parking, but then they have to roll it all the way down to the garage door so tenants can collect it, and Republic Services. No, it's not Republic Services, but tennis. So they got a cart. It's like a motorized cart that, and it moves it on its own. So that's how they spent their money. So the county really wants cities to continue to promote this. And then again, we touched on this possible contract extension. So we'll be working with Tennis and Republic Services on that over the next few months. So I thought maybe we'd go over both reports, but I think it might be best, since recycling's fresh on your mind, and if you don't mind, taking questions about our recycling program here, and then asking Tennis representatives to stand for questions. Sound good? Okay, so I'd be happy to answer any questions, and then we can introduce our Tennis contacts here.
Hello, I'm Willie,
I'm Alex.
and we're from Tennis Sanitation, as you obviously know. And so, recycling is staying pretty stable. Few comments Sean made with the tonnage going down. It is because materials are lighter. Your plastic bottles are a little thinner, your cardboard's thinner, and there's less paper every year also. And that's a big weight factor right there. So, but your participation went up this year. So people are recycling, it's just the items just aren't as heavy as they used to be.
Yeah.
I also think it's valuable to note that your residuals are down, so there's less trash mixed in with the recycling, which definitely has contributed to the weight. And yeah, lots of cardboard in Maplewood. And then also the multifamily volumes are up, as you may have noticed. I think a lot of that is to do with the outreach through the biz recycling program. We have both, with Sean, have gone to multiple site meetings and have helped these multifamily developments, improve their recycling programs, and I think that definitely is shown. Another thing I wanted to note is just with like the cart inventory is that we did that this year and last year in kind of our tracking. We've always tracked who has 95 gallon, who has multiple carts and such, but one of the things we worked on this year was reaching out to residents who had no cart or had a personal cart that they were using to help get tennis carts delivered and help increase, get them a standard 65 gallon cart and get that moving too.
So we are open for questions.
All right, Commission, do we have any questions for him?
So actually, you answered the bulk what I had already, which is great, thank you. But I'm just wondering, from your experience, what are you seeing in terms of the recycling market? Are you able to move product well? I mean, what's that looking like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, last fall, we did experience kind of a fall in the market. It was really slow. Things are moving very slowly. We were fortunate enough to have a lot of great relationships with a lot of our vendors, so we were able to move material consistently. But now going into 2024, that market is starting to pick up again, and there's a lot more stability, which is a great sign.
Okay, good.
I'm just going to kind of tag along with Ted's question there, and that do you see any future upcoming new markets that are any emergent recycling markets that people would be able to use?
Not at this point in time, and we take more items than any other company
Right.
already. So, like I said before, if we can find a market, even if it's not very valuable, we'll still do
Yes.
it, just to recycle it. But, yeah, we do quite a bit already.
I actually have two things. I have a comment, which, thanks to this fabulous reporting from last year, I was able to correct someone who said, well, they don't really recycle all that much. And I said, actually, we get these fabulous reports, and they recycle a whole lot of stuff. And look at how many trees specifically were, and all of those wonderful conversions that you do. So I think those are really wonderful. But with the cart tracking that you do, have you seen a lot of people move? Like I noticed, you were tracking specifically people who don't put out their carts every week and things like that. Are you are you seeing people move cart sizes yet, or is it something you're kind of waiting on in anticipation in future years?
Yeah, we definitely have some fluctuation with the cart sizes. We have people kind of going up and down. We have residents that have multiple carts that are recycling a lot, and then there are residents that have the smaller 35-gallon cart. Overall, this last year, we have seen an increase, people going from the 35-gallon to the 65-gallon specifically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a couple questions. I guess maybe more than two, but on some legislature that's being proposed, I saw you mentioned the bottle bill. And on that, for our upcoming work proposal, we have the possible contract extension. What if, this might be a question for Sean too, what if we do extend that contract for another 5 years, the bottle bill passes, say in '27, what happens to the curbside recycling program potentially then in Maplewood?
Well, if they pass it with everything that they want, all that's going to be left to recycle basically is paper and cardboard.
Right.
And it's not going to be feasible for us to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the big things reasons we don't want to see that bottle bill passed.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it'd be so inconvenient for all the residents to have to bring all those items to a site. It's just don't make sense. We're going backwards if that passes in recycling.
And then I kind of building on a question from, I think it might have been Ted, or maybe some upcoming legislation. There's also I was just reading about producer, something along the lines of a producer recycling bill. Those, so like large packaging firms, basically your deliveries, your at-home deliveries, making those individuals have a circular system for their packaging and their recycling. I don't know if that's kind of like talked about throughout the recycling industry, if you had any tabs on that. I just wanted to kind of get, if you did have tabs on it, if you had any perspective to share.
No, I can't say we've heard a lot about that yet.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's still like a little bit of rumblings, but
Sure.
that's all I really had, so. Oh, actually, I had a third thing. I saw that you sent out kind of when it's noticed that individuals may put a wrong thing in the recyclables or they're not putting it close enough to the curb. When you send a handout in the mail, is it like specifically detailing what that individual might have done wrong, or just like a general how-to on recycling?
So we use tags that we would put on the recycling cart that have an option for a note so that
Okay.
the driver can note
Okay.
the specific issue or have them call our office so we can kind of go over it with them in detail. And then also we can send out, we have our own brochures and information that we can send out to residents too to kind of help guide them.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I was just wondering if it was more tailored or just a
Yeah.
general message, but it sounds like
Yeah,
it's more
kind of
tailored.
both. So if it's needed to be more tailored, and we try to be specific so that residents understand and can help make those improvements.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah.
And this might be a question more for Sean, I don't know. But about the small businesses and the churches, do you know, is that a large proportion of adoption that we have among our small businesses that we currently have enrolled? Or is it?
Very
in the
small.
middle? Is there any, I know it's on our work plan, or it's on the work plan for this year. Is there any outreach planned for that group to maybe push them towards this great program, like this great option that we have?
We would love to hear ideas.
Okay.
In the past, some things we've done is, and I should say yearly, the city of Maplewood licenses its businesses, all businesses, I think, most businesses. And we put a notice in their renewal letter
Sure.
about you can opt into the city's recycling program.
Okay.
And that's been about, and then maybe articles in our newsletter. And that's been about it.
Okay.
A follow-up question, that is the mall included in that program?
No, only small business.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
curbside.
Yeah.
We've had a few businesses that turned into be big businesses, and we just couldn't handle it. There's a few, some restaurants that just kind of got out of hand, and we're like, I think you're too big for this, this option. Yeah, so it has to be something similar to a residential collection.
Makes sense. Any other questions from the commission?
This may be for staff potentially, but what is the current status with regards to recycling at our city parks in terms of like overall volume? Looking at one of the pages in the report, looks like it lists 0 pounds for city parks this year. I don't know if it's being recorded elsewhere or if we're just seeing a downward on that.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas we want to see some improvement on. I was just reviewing that moments before this meeting, and perhaps Alexia, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, one of the main issue that we found with the city parks is that we found that the recycling receptacles that are usually throughout the park have been stored inside of our containers, which are locked in a enclosure. So they haven't been out for the opportunity for people to use them, unfortunately.
However, I haven't had time to analyze that. I mean, what does that mean? Because I know our parks crews are taking recycling from the parks and putting it somewhere. So
Well, the containers.
maybe I'm not understanding.
Yeah, from what I understand from the drivers is that the containers that are usually throughout the park that they use to put the material recyclables in are not out for use. They're inside of our large containers, from what the drivers had let us know.
I'm sorry, we haven't had a time to talk this through, so I'm not sure what that means either. So that's clearly one area we need to work on is making sure that we're getting correct park material tonnage. And for some reason we didn't, and I'm not we'll talk as to
Okay.
why that's happening.
Yeah. Great. But thank you for the report, and I'm also excited about the potential tour for recycling facility. It sounds like a great opportunity to learn more about it, so thanks.
Great.
All right, I think that's all the questions from us. Thank you, Willie and Alex.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we hope that tennis will stick around so we can ensure if there's questions after our trash hauling report. That'd be great. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to our the trash annual report. So last year, we asked Republic Services to work on these items. The food scraps pickup program, and as you know, this is offered through Ramsey Washington Recycling and Energy Center, funded, I should say, by both counties. And it's a very simple program to participate in. All residents have to do is call for free durable compostable bags and then place their food scraps in these bags, and then once a week place the bags of food scraps, on top of your trash, close the cart, put it out for collection. And then where Republic Services and the other trash haulers come into play is it's not a big step, and maybe you can go into it a little bit, Bev, is they would just drive to a different tipping location in the Recycling and Energy Center down in Newport, and they would tip the trash, and then there's, and this is a tour we'd like to take too. So pause on that, because that's our 2004 work plan. But they have automated arms that collect the yard waste, or excuse me, food scraps bags, and so it just separates it that way, right there on the tipping floor. So Republic Services has been doing that now since the counties have rolled out the program here in Maplewood. Right now there's only 3 or 4 cities in Ramsey County that it's being offered to, Maplewood, all of North St. Paul, Newport, and Cottage Grove. And we were a pilot city to begin with, so Republic Services has been very receptive and willing to work on that program, and so we'll kind of get an update on how that's been going. Then weather-related postponement notifications, I went over this previously, so it was same situation. And it should be noted that Republic Services, as a larger hauler, they had the capacity to do these call-em-all messages. So that's where it's been very convenient for the city to be able to notify residents, that there's service delays, but you want to make sure that you're getting a message across for both trash and recycling. So that's what we've worked on, and we have a good system for that now. Improvement to the set out and canceling of service. What we were seeing is in Maplewood, Republic Services does all the billing for just the trash hauling piece. And then the city of Maplewood adds the fee for recycling onto residents' water bills. So it's a very confusing system for residents, new residents especially, and at any rate, it's what we did when the city organized its trash hauling. Since we don't do utility billing, water is supplied through St. Paul Regional Water Services. The city of Maplewood works with them. We have an agreement where they add certain city fees, one of those being the recycling fee, to the water bill. But for the trash, Republic Services does the billing just for the trash piece. And so Republic Services, as much as the city, wants to see that if a resident is moving or, transferring service for whatever reason, that that person calls to cancel the service. So then Republic can go out and collect the cart so that the new owner, when they come in, they don't just see a trash cart and start using it. Because, we've had rare, but a few instances where, a new resident will start using the trash cart and the driver doesn't know it's a new service. So they didn't get the correct billing and things were getting a little confused. But Republic Services is monitoring that more closely now, looking at, getting reports from the drivers to see, if there's a for sale sign, things like that. It's clear that someone moved out. Because there are a lot of times when residents move out and they just don't bother canceling service. So want to make sure we had a good system for that. Dual cart audit, I was, again, just kind of briefing myself on what all this meant from last year, and I think we were finding that there were a lot of residents with a lot of carts. It's not a huge amount, but there's a few properties with like 5 carts, and you're thinking, well, what's that about? And, in further review, those types of residential properties are usually group homes, that are generating a lot of recycling. So Republic Services did an audit on that and clarifies that in their report. Monthly and year-end report improvements, along the lines of the recycling. Just there were a few things that I thought could be clarified. And then attending events. So with Republic in their contract, of course, they cover the spring cleanup, which they did last year. It was a stellar event and went on without any issues. We had Republic Services there collecting, the main mixed solid waste materials, and then we also have subcontractors there to try to collect as much as we can and recycle it. Like Second Chance Recycling was there to collect and recycle every bit of a mattress and box spring. And then we have someone collecting bikes, and they reuse those bikes, small engines, gas engine, like snow blowers. We have a gentleman that repairs all those. So, we try to recycle and reuse as much as we can before it gets to Republic Services for that end piece. But that went really well. Touch a Truck, here you see a picture of their previous operations manager, Chris, and I can't remember this gentleman's name, but they were a lot of fun at the event. So again, I was in the middle of both tennis and Republic, so I had blue on one side, orange on the other, and then I was green in the middle. So, and then finally, fall cleanup campaign, which we discussed. So that was last year's work plan. So then Republic Services put together a nice report for us. I really appreciate how now they have more visuals and kind of cover what they did the previous year through the work plan. So kudos on the reporting. It's getting much more detailed, and I appreciate that. And I took out a few key pieces of the data that was collected. So overall trash collected, and this is kind of interesting, we saw the recycling go down. Well, we are also seeing the trash tonnage go down. So this is just, again, our single-family homes, and this is yearly trash collected. So last year, they collected 8,546.99 tons throughout the year, and that went down to 8,406.11 tons. And then the bulky items we're tracking via units. So this would be number of appliances, number of televisions, number of mattresses. So you can see that decreasing slightly. Again, residents have opportunity to either use this bulky item collection, which, you'd call Republic Services, set up the service, and then the contract outlines the cost right now at $10 to $35, depending on the item. And, people can also bring their items to the spring cleanup, and Ramsey County is offering a lot more opportunities to get rid of items, like they'll take televisions for recycling, at no cost. They're partnering with Repowered. So, there's a lot of opportunity for residents if they have an ability to haul the item. But here is the curbside collection. You can see in 2022, Republic Services collected 1,173 items, and then in 2023, 1,092 items. And yard waste, again, this is a subscription that residents can purchase. This year, I think it's about $142 for the entire year, which is maybe about $16 a month from April until November, something like that. I mean, if you separated it out. So it's really reasonable. They collect once a week, and looks like the tonnages are down, but you'll note that the accounts are up, which is kind of interesting. So, I guess the yard waste accounts are on the bottom, and yeah, those are up. Those are also up. So you can see the tonnages are down there. Single-family accounts, the reason we might increase slightly is, a few new households. Maplewood is almost fully developed as far as single-family homes, but we do see some new homes. And then people can also opt out if they have an environmentally responsible way of dealing with their trash. And you can see that in the exemptions. But that's been staying pretty consistent. I should note that when the city first organized its trash hauling, we had about 250 households that had opted out. But over time, as the people that, really didn't like the program and self-hauled or whatever environmentally responsible way they had of dealing with it, because they have to verify. And that can be either sharing a trash cart with your neighbor, which we find maybe with a elderly person who generates very little trash, and their neighbor always allowed them to put their one little bag into their cart. That's one way. If you have a business where you have a licensed trash company pick up your trash hauling, and you can just bring it to your business. Or you can self-haul, as an example, down to the Recycling and Energy Center. So that was originally 250, so we're seeing each year that this goes on, we're getting less and less. So that's how the single-family accounts might vary too. And then so for townhomes and manufactured homes, here's an area where I'm surprised we haven't seen more people opt in, but when we first organized trash hauling, it was determined that because townhomes and manufactured homes likely had a contract with a hauler, their overall neighborhood, that it would be challenging for them to just have the city take over or you have them opt into the city's program. So what we did instead was allow these developments, these properties, to opt in. And maybe what's prohibiting them is originally we said if you opt in, you can't opt out. But we've taken away that clause. And the reason way back was because of concerns with the city purchasing carts and then having to roll them out and then pull them all back in. But I don't really think that's a concern anymore. So we did modify that in our ordinance. But we're not really seeing an increase in these townhomes and manufactured homes that are opting in. And that might be because, the other haulers, their only competition, I guess, is the city, so they can see our rates. And at any rate, you can see those accounts are staying steady. And then those walk-up services, I said 77, looks like 39, according to Republic Services, so that it really has reduced. So that kind of covers the data, and they have a lot of data rolled up in their year-end report. And then finally, we'll go into this draft work plan, which we're hoping for Environmental Commission comment. And again, the walk-up notifications, I went over that with tennis and the recycling program. Attending events, which we've discussed. Park solid waste management, so, you know, in addition to making improvements to our recycling program, you know, we want to make sure that we're also making improvements to our trash collection. And we're really seeing a huge increase in trash volumes in our parks and a lot of illegal dumping ever since the pandemic. It just, and, you know, all these programs out there that offer almost free drop-off, like with the county. You can get rid of your television for free. But people will go into our parks and just dump all this, you know, households of stuff. It's been really a real big problem. So, you know, making improvements to our park solid waste management. Trash and yard waste processing tours. So, and then we could also just say also maybe, I mean, not that we're going to take all these tours, but we can choose one of them. But we could also, but that's where our trash is brought too. So the Recycling and Energy Center, which is where trash and organics is collected. So that would be a good tour to take. And then curbside food scraps collection, they'll continue to work on that as the county continues to roll that out. I was hoping to get an updated number, but back in November when the county came here, actually they weren't able to make it, but I presented for them, you may recall. I think we had about 100-some residents that had opted in to the program, which was the highest participation, and it only had begun in October. So I'm sure there's a lot more people participating in that. So we'll see that increase throughout the years as we move forward. And then possible contract extension. And the city and both our haulers will be discussing the extensions, possible extensions, in the next coming months, and we'll keep you posted on that. So I'll stand for questions and also ask our representatives from Republic Services to come forward.
Hi, I'm Samara Halada with Public Services.
And I'm Bev Mathieson. Thank you so much for having us this evening.
And I just wanted to note quick, I do know that we saw that the overall tonnages did go down, and through that dual cart audit, you will see that we have a lot less people with dual carts, and so that could be a small indicator of a little bit less trash between the two. And yeah, we'll continue to work with the city and the county on the food scraps program.
I'm just going to excuse myself for a second. I sliced my face while shaving this morning, and I reopened the scab. I thought I could take the Band-Aid off for the meeting, but I couldn't, so I'm going to go to the bathroom 1 second.
Okay. Perfect time for our new vice chair to step and moderate.
Does anyone from the commission have questions or comments?
About the food scraps program, since it's been adopted, how has participation been in that?
Well, that's actually monitored by the county.
Okay.
Folks sign up through the county. We know that our drivers are super excited about it. It's gone very smoothly. It's really an exciting time for us here in Ramsey County with the food scraps program. And it's very well organized. There's a lot of great education out there for your residents. So we're there to support the county, the city, and all of the residents best we can.
Thank you.
I've just got another question here. The trends that you're seeing in Maplewood, are you seeing similar trends in communities, the other communities in the area that you serve, or does anything stand out as being different at all?
I wouldn't see anything out of the normal. Yeah, I think everything is within ranges. Yeah, the fluctuation is pretty common, especially post-COVID years. We see a fluctuation with trash and bulky items after spring cleanings, and so nothing out of the ordinary for Maplewood.
Okay.
No, and you are seeing and reading in the newspapers too, more people are going back to work in their workplaces where they were at home. Some then transitioned to hybrid, and then now we're seeing more people back in their workplaces. So that does change our volumes.
I'll just say thank you for your work with the county on the food scraps program. I'm a participant, and it's a big step up for from bringing it, to a location, to a dumpster, and the bags are very sturdy. They work very well. So, yeah, I think it's a great program, and excited to see where it goes.
So yeah, I was just wondering, recording that data, do you have any data? I didn't really see like a separate area for
That
waste.
actually comes from the county.
Okay, that's what I figured, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, commission members? No?
Thank you. Have a
Hope
good
you
night.
heal quickly. Oh.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both Republican Tennis for coming out this evening and just presenting. It's always nice to see this information.
Thank you so much, and if you have any comments or feedback on the work plans as we move forward, either tonight or email me, before our city council meeting, which will be, I think it's scheduled for April 12th. Be happy to take your feedback, especially if you had some ideas for outreach to our businesses and churches, things of that nature. So thank you so much for attending, and we really appreciate you and all you do for the city. So we'll see you next year. No, I'm kidding. We'll see you April 12th.
All right. So I'd like, is there a motion to approve the year-end reports for Republic Services trash and yard waste collection and sanitation recycling collection?
I can make the motion to approve the annual reports.
Do you have a second?
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that moves us on to number 6 then, I believe. Unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Nope. And I don't believe we have any visitor presentations. Any commissioner presentations? No. And then staff presentations or oral reports?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have 2 items to announce. The spring cleanup, which is April 13th this year, a little earlier than usual. I like to schedule it right around Earth Day, which I believe is the next week. But Ramsey County had booked Aldridge Arena already with some big event. So I'll have to remember right after the spring cleanup's done this year to book for next year because it was some crazy event too, like.
They're doing a cleanup day, right?
No, something with beer.
Oh, the silly and giggle and twirl, I think.
It sounded fun.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we could coordinate events, but they suggested no. So anyway, it's April 13th this year, but we've had a nice mild winter for people to get out and clean their garages and so forth. So that event is at Aldrich Arena from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. And I did want to note that we're bringing shredding back to the event this year. For many years, no, I should say, after the pandemic and all the closures, we canceled our spring cleanup, with concerns about COVID-19. And so then the next year, people were stuck home all year just cleaning things. and we had the largest volume of material we ever had. I saw this one vehicle. You watched The Grinch, that movie, and remember when he stole all the Christmas items and his sleigh was just, there was a vehicle that looked like that. So it was, there was one in the car, but not on, and he was much nicer to it.
Might have been my car.
Thought you looked familiar. So that was a crazy year, but the people that would normally get through what we called the express line for shredding, we're stuck in this giant line with all these people with giant loads, and it just wasn't making sense anymore because people who wanted to do shredding thought there'd be like an express lane. And so we have some challenges now, too, with Ramsey County. They revamped the parking lot in Aldrich Arena. They worked with the Watershed District, and they did a great job. They added all sorts of rain gardens and trees, and it's great for stormwater, and it looks better, but it really put some pinch points on our spring cleanup. So we just don't have the room for like a express lane. And what I'm getting at is, unfortunately, we don't have an express lane, and we can't offer the shredding just for free. So it'll be part of all that's offered there. So you could come in with your TV, with your shredding, and so you'd come in at a carload price, which is very reasonable. A carload is $25. So, but there's a lot of other shredding opportunities out there since that 2020 event. As an example, the Washington County Environmental Center, which all Ramsey and Washington County residents can go to dispose and recycle items. But they have a shredding event every month from April until October. And it's free to residents, so that's one way to get rid of your shredding if that's all you have is shredding. But at the spring cleanup event, we'll offer a collection of mattresses, televisions, appliances, bikes in any condition, small engines, clothes that can be reused, and shoes. And we'll be working with our Maplewood Police Department to take in unwanted and unneeded medicine, to make sure we keep it safe and don't harm our environment. And the shredding, and then on top of that, all the other stuff that you just don't know what to do with, like that pile of whatever metal that's just been sitting behind your shed. Bring that on in, and we can get rid of that and recycle those metal pieces. So you can find more information on the spring cleanup on our website at www.maplewoodmn.gov/cleanups. And for our environmental commissioners, I like to put the word out that we're always looking for volunteers to help, particularly at the front gate, where the residents are waiting in line. We write invoices to notify them of the price. They drive up, the city collects the money, but then many of them are waiting in line a while, and we like to greet them, give them information. We usually have fun things to hand out from the county, like Ramsey recycle bags, things like that. So there's opportunities to do some education and outreach if you're interested. So I'll email you about that opportunity. So moving on to the next announcement, which is Waterfest, which this year is held June 1st. It's a Saturday, and it's 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. It's held at Phelan Regional Park, and as you know, it's sponsored by the Ramsey Washington Watershed District, and it really is an opportunity for our Environmental Commission, and then we'll coordinate with the Friends of Maplewood Nature again this year to do some education and outreach. And since it's right around the corner, I'm hoping to get a couple volunteers to kind of coordinate a theme for this year's booth. So perhaps you could discuss it here amongst yourselves if you want, and give me some direction on that, or I'll follow up with an email also.
Just one question for clarification. Is it June 1st, I believe, is a Monday?
Oh, is it today? Oh, that's not right. the first Saturday in June, which is,
The 6th?
what? June 1st is a Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June 2024.
Are
you sure you're not getting part of May mixed in there?
I'm getting part of May mixed in there. Sorry, Fish
Phew.
and staff. You got it right.
Okay,
Back to the theme.
back to the theme.
Well, in years past, we've picked out things from climate adaptation plans and various other initiatives. Is there some sort of something that we've been discussing that we could easily pick out and do a booth on? Otherwise, I would recommend maybe doing something on the food scrap program, using that as an outreach opportunity for food scraps.
I was gonna say, I like that idea. I was thinking about that too.
I would also agree, but I just want to make sure that there won't be someone else there doing that as well, because I know it's really hot topic in the county and the surrounding county too, so.
Probably not, because Maplewood, it's only offered in Maplewood, right now.
Right.
Not St. Paul, which is, so, but anyway, I'll check into that, and I think that's a good opportunity. And also, you may recall during our little brainstorming session last month, where Commissioner Edwards mentioned she'd like to do more outreach with recycling and, of course, food scraps. So I think that's a good synergy.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't something that, Maplewood residents are able to take care of the food scrap recycling program. However, focusing on just food scrap, what can you do, options for food scrap recycling beyond the convenient trash hauling program, I think would be beneficial, and maybe even focusing on some of the at-home food scrap options, especially for those residents who will be coming by that don't reside at Maplewood.
Oh, and I should mention, all of Ramsey County can do the drop-off food scraps. Yeah. And we can coordinate with the county on this, and there'd be a lot of resources for us, so.
I could also see you could kind of combine it with sort of a, just in general use of compost and how that can help build soil, and how building soil helps deal with watershed issues and water absorption. And I think didn't the Maplewood Nature Center used to have like a display thing where you can kind of load it with soil of different quality and then have water sprinkle? That might not even exist anymore, I don't know. But if there is that kind of, so you could have something like that that's interactive, Do you
Yeah, I
recall
know
what I'm talking about?
Yes, I think they would coordinate with the watershed district who
Yeah.
had something like that, but it's a fun, interactive thing for kids too, so you have little houses and yards,
Yeah.
and you have like a lot of blacktop, and you can
I
see how
think-
the water runs off.
Yeah, and I think for an event like what Waterfest is, the amount of people that actually sit and come by and watch something at the booth is fairly low. That would require a lot of, that requires a lot of setup and a lot of,
If it's something interactive for kids, because we found,
Yeah.
You get the kids into something,
Playing around with
that's your opportunity to
yeah, I
have
think,
that conversation with the parents.
I just think the model requires more staffing and energy and not necessarily enough, I just don't think this would be the appropriate venue for that. But.
Maybe some sort of concept like that.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about food scraps and organics recycling is there are a lot of different activities and resources available online that are easily found. So there is something that we can find and something that would give a similar feel. And maybe things like that could even be done through graphics.
And again, maybe the watershed has something
Yeah.
like ready-made that can be used.
So I'll check with Ramsey County to see if they're participating in this program and how we can coordinate with them to do some outreach. And then I'll circle back to our environmental commissioners hoping for a subgroup of sorts to just do a little planning and help coordinate the booth. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that brings us to adjournment. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:12 PM.